Imagine this. A man climbs a rickety wooden platform, nails a sheet of paper to a church door, and walks away. And revolutions each one, rippling outward to touch billions of lives. Some events echo for centuries. Others happen in a flash and still change everything. Just another day in a sleepy European town, right? But that moment triggered a firestorm that would break empires, rewrite religion, and reshape the Western world forever. But ones that created irreversible shifts in power, technology, society, or even the way we think as human beings. History isn't just a list of dates and dusty names. It's a chain reaction of bold moves, accidents, rebellions in this video. We're diving into the top 10 historical events that changed the world, not just events that were big. These aren't just stories, they're turning points. How we rank them? We looked at 3 big questions. Global impact. Did it affect multiple continents or cultures? Longevity. Are we still feeling its effects today? Transformation. Did it flip the script on how humanity operates? Some of these events brought freedom, others, cultural division. Even economic systems is rooted in moments that shaped civilization long before smartphones and Wi-Fi. Unimaginable suffering. But all of them forced the world to evolve. And here's the twist. Some of the events on this list didn't seem world-changing when they happened. What looks small in the moment can echo through the ages. A quiet letter, rapid innovation, and non-stop noise. It's easy to forget how we got here. A new idea, a single spark in a sea of darkness. But that's the magic of history. Why this list matters now in a world of viral trends. But every struggle we face today, political tension. Understanding these turning points isn't just fascinating, it's empowering. Because once you see how humanity has changed, you start to realize it can change again. Coming up in the countdown, ... From bloody revolutions and mysterious black plagues, to game-changing inventions and declarations that shook monarchies, you'll discover the war that gave birth to democracy, the plague that rewired the economy, the machine that unlocked modern knowledge, and the moment a wall came crashing down. Not just bricks, but borders of ideology. Some will inspire, some will horrify, but all will leave you seeing the world just a little differently. Let's get ready to travel through time. Not with a time machine, but with stories that bent time itself. Let's begin our countdown with number 10. A flashpoint of fire, fury, and freedom that sparked a revolution across the globe. #10. The American Revolution, the birth of modern democracy. It started with attacks on tea and ended with a new nation, a new blueprint for freedom. In the late 18th century, 13 British colonies in North America had grown tired of being treated like second-class citizens by a king across the ocean. No representation, no autonomy. Just taxes, troops, and tyranny. Words like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness weren't just poetic. They were revolutionary. It ignited a global movement. France would soon erupt in its own revolution. Ideas of liberty spread across Europe and Latin America. Monarchies felt the heat. For the first time, the idea that government existed to serve the people became official doctrine. Then came the Declaration of Independence in 1776, written not by soldiers, but by thinkers. The American Revolution wasn't just about one country breaking free. It's the American system of checks and balances, constitutional rights, and civil liberties has become a model copied. Challenged, debated, but always studied. And the ripple effects still shape global politics. It proved that ideas, when paired with determination, could topple an empire. Fun fact, George Washington refused to become king after the war. That one decision set the tone for a democratic presidency, not a dictatorship. Number 9, the Black Death, the plague that rebooted Europe. Carried by fleas on rats, this bubonic plague spread through trade routes, wiping out an estimated 75 to 200 million people worldwide. Public health systems, quarantine zones, and even early hospital models began to emerge. People began asking, if death is this sudden, how should we live? Imagine losing 1/3 of everyone you know. In just a few years? That's what happened when the Black Death swept across Europe in the 14th century. But as horrifying as it was, the Black Death didn't just kill, it transformed. For the first time in centuries, the rigid structure of medieval society cracked open. With so many people gone, labor became scarce. Peasants suddenly had bargaining power, wages rose, feudal lords lost control. Some historians argue that the modern middle class was born from this chaos. It also changed medicine. The medical community had to face the limits of superstition and start searching for scientific answers. Art and literature shifted too. Grim themes, skeletal figures, and existential questions filled the culture. Fun fact, the nursery rhyme Ring Around the Rosie is believed by some to reference the plague, though historians still debate that interpretation. Number 8, the Industrial Revolution. Machines. Mills and a new world. One day, people were spinning yarn by hand. A generation later, steam-powered machines were doing the work of thousands. It wasn't just about factories, it was about a complete reprogramming of how people lived, worked, and thought. The Industrial Revolution, which began in Britain in the late 18th century, marked the greatest shift in human productivity since the invention of agriculture. Goal. Powered engines, railways stitched continents together, and new inventions from the spinning jenny to the telegraph shrunk the world at an unimaginable pace. Class divides widened, giving birth to labor movements and the seeds of socialism. Rural communities migrated to booming cities. Family farms gave way to factory labor. Suddenly a pair of shoes wasn't a luxury, everyone could afford one. It also introduced the concept of mass production, which meant goods could be cheaper, faster, and widely distributed. But this progress came at a cost. Workers, often children, endured brutal hours in dangerous conditions. Pollution choked the cities. Still, this era laid the foundation for the modern economy, global trade, and even the digital age. Fun fact, during the early 1800s, some workers called the Luddites destroyed factory machines, fearing they were replacing human jobs, a debate that still echoes in today's world of AI and automation. Number 7, the printing press. Information. Unleashed, which still shape public opinion and political power today, it changed what they thought was possible, fueled the Renaissance, Reformation, scientific revolution, and later the Enlightenment, all built on one thing: access to knowledge. Before the mid-1400s, books were rare, expensive, and hand-copied, mostly owned by royalty or the church. It took scribes years to copy by hand. His press did it in months. Then came Johannes Gutenberg's printing press, and with it, the greatest information explosion in history. Suddenly ideas could spread faster than armies. Martin Luther's 95 Theses, mass-printed, scientific discoveries, shared across borders. Literature, philosophy, politics, everything was democratized. The printing press didn't just allow people to read more. It also planted the seed of journalism and mass media. Without the press, there's no modern education system, no democracy as we know it, and no memes. Yes, really. Fun fact, the first major book Gutenberg printed was the Bible, nearly 180 copies. Number 6, the fall of the Berlin Wall. The end of a divided world. It began as a wall of concrete, but it stood for something much bigger. The Iron Curtain, the Cold War, the brutal line between East and West. For decades, the Berlin Wall split Germany in half, separating families, dreams, and ideologies. On one side, capitalism and democracy. The other, communism and surveillance. But in November 1989, everything changed. Peaceful protests surged through East Germany. The Soviet Union weakened. Then came the press conference mistake heard round the world. You can cross the border. It marked the collapse of the Soviet bloc, the end of the Cold War, and the dawn of a new world order. Nations reunified, markets opened, globalization accelerated. Now, that night, thousands of Berliners swarmed the wall, chipping away at it physically and symbolically. The fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't just a German story, and for millions who had grown up behind the wall, it was more than politics. It was the moment they could finally breathe. Then one man said, "Actually, it's not," and the stars shifted. Fun fact, people still sell tiny pieces of the original Berlin Wall as souvenirs, fragments of freedom wrapped in history. Number 5, the scientific revolution. When the universe got bigger once upon a time, Earth was believed to be the center of everything. Newton explained gravity with math. Kepler, Descartes, Bacon, they built a framework of knowledge based on evidence, observation, and reason. That man was Nicolaus Copernicus, and his heliocentric theory kicked off the scientific revolution, a chain reaction of discoveries that would redefine our understanding of reality. His crime, looking at the stars too closely. Galileo peered through a telescope and saw moons orbiting Jupiter. It was the beginning of science as we know it. This revolution didn't just change astronomy. It reshaped medicine, physics, chemistry, and eventually technology. It shifted power from dogma to data, from what we were told to what we could prove. Governments began funding science. Universities became hubs of experimentation. Eventually, these ideas birthed the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, and even modern computing. The scientific revolution planted the seed of human confidence. We can understand the universe and change it. Fun fact, Galileo was convicted of heresy for supporting Copernicus' views and spent the rest of his life under house arrest. Number 4, the French Revolution. Liberty, equality. Whether Marie Antoinette actually said it or not, France was boiling with anger. The aristocracy lived in luxury while peasants starved. Enlightenment thinkers questioned absolute monarchy. And when King Louis XVI tried to tighten his grip, the people snapped. The French Revolution began with bread, but it exploded into something far greater. In chaos, let them eat cake. They inspired revolutions across Europe, Latin America, and beyond. The Declaration of the Rights of Man became a template for democratic movements worldwide. By the late 18th century, while as part of an effort to bring rationality and equality to measurement itself, the revolution that's thinner than a spider's silk. Aftermath was messy, leading eventually to Napoleon's reset. Fundamentally shifted how societies thought about power, class, and human rights. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789. Something extraordinary emerged. The idea that all men are created equal. The people have the right to govern, and that liberty and justice aren't reserved for royalty. It was more than a prison break. It was a symbolic blow to tyranny. Over the next decade, France would see a monarchy overthrown, a republic born, and a reign of terror that sent thousands to the guillotine, including the king and queen. But amid the chaos, James Watson and Francis Crick, with key contributions from Rosalind Franklin, unveiled the double helix, the elegant spiral staircase of life. This wasn't just a biology breakthrough, it was a paradigm shift. These ideas didn't stop at France's borders. We understood how traits were inherited, how diseases spread, how life replicates itself. And fun fact, the metric system was invented during the French Revolution. Number 3. The discovery of DNA structure. The code of life revealed in a small lab at Cambridge University. Two scientists built a model of something no one had seen before, but everyone carried inside them. That something was DNA. In 1953, for the first time, this discovery paved the way for genetic testing, forensic science, gene therapy, CRISPR, and genetic engineering, the Human Genome Project. It also raised ethical questions we still grapple with today. Should we edit genes, design babies, own biological patents? DNA unlocked the code of life and handed humanity the power to rewrite it. Fun fact, if uncoiled, the DNA in a single human cell would stretch over 6 feet long, but it's only 2 nanometers wide. Number 2, World War II. The global firestorm that redefined power. It began with a dictator invading Poland and ended with atomic bombs, concentration camps liberated, and the world order rewritten. World War II was indeed just the deadliest conflict in history. It was a turning point for the entire planet. Over 60 million lives lost. Entire cities turned to rubble. From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, the scale of destruction was unimaginable.
Ow.
But the aftermath reshaped everything. The United Nations was formed, colonial empires crumbled, giving rise to dozens of new nations. Superpowers emerged, the US and the Soviet Union, launching the Cold War. The Holocaust revealed the darkest depths of humanity and led to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Culturally, it left scars and stories that still echo. Technologically, the war accelerated radar, rocketry, and nuclear energy. Politically, it redrew maps. Morally, it forced the world to ask, how do we ensure this never happens again? Fun fact, the term computer bug originated during this era when Grace Hopper found a literal moth inside a World War II-era computer. Number 1, the rise of the internet. The digital dawn, no armies, no battles, no speeches. Just silent pulses of data flying through cables. And yet, this event has reshaped humanity more completely than anything before it. But by the 1990s, it exploded into the World Wide Web. The internet began as a U.S. military experiment, ARPANET in 1969. A few academics sent messages between computers. Today, the internet powers global finance, instant communication, education, science, entertainment, political movements, and disinformation, social media, AI, virtual realities. It changed how we date, work, protest, learn, shop, mourn, vote, how we exist. The internet shrank the world into a screen, gave voice to the voiceless, but also opened floodgates of distraction, manipulation, and misinformation. It's not finished evolving. We're living inside this history right now. Fun fact: the first thing ever sold online, a Sting CD, the second weed, unofficially. So now you've seen it. 10 moments when history hit the reset button. From revolutions that redefined freedom, to machines that reshaped labor, to viruses and wars that shattered old worlds and built new ones, and finally, to the invisible threads of DNA and data that now bind humanity together. These weren't just events, they were tipping points. Each one cracked open the timeline and said, from this moment forward, nothing will be the same. Here's the wildest part. Most of these changes didn't seem monumental when they began. A scientist in a lab, a rebel writing a pamphlet, a wall coming down brick by brick. It wasn't always power or armies that changed the world, it was ideas, tools, accidents, and ordinary people in extraordinary moments. Which means this: the next world-changing event. It might already be happening, right now, on a screen, in a lab, or maybe in someone's mind. What about you? Which of these events shocked you the most? Which one do you think had the biggest ripple effect? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. History isn't just about the past. It's about how we choose to see it, learn from it, and use it to shape what comes next. If you enjoyed this journey through time, make sure to subscribe for more top 10 deep dives. Like the video. If you learned something new, share it with a fellow history lover. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's next, because at Top Tier 10, we're just getting started. Thanks for watching. And remember, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.